AFN Videos, the leader in football education.
Hello, I'm Chad Gehring, the offensive line coach at Evangel University. Today we're going to dig into part 3 of this video series, and I'm going to share with you the covered and uncovered concepts as it relates to building a blocking scheme for the inside zone. As we begin to take a look, let's look at the elements of covered and uncovered. The benefits of building your blocking rule system by virtue of defining whether or not your offensive linemen are covered, meaning that they are covered by a defensive lineman who has his hand in the grass, or by a linebacker who has broken the heels of the defensive lineman, and then or by defining your linemen as uncovered, meaning that your linemen are covered by or I should say uncovered by a linebacker at the second level. The benefits of talking to your guys in this particular language allows you to be sound versus multiple defensive looks. All of us probably package the 4-2, and we call it the 4-2, or we may call it the split. You see an odd defense with 3 hands in the grass, and you call that odd. And then based on some linebacker alignments, you have stack or odd stack. And so the list of defenses and the variety of different looks that a defensive coordinator can give us creates a long list of possible ways to communicate with our offensive linemen and then with members inside of our offensive staff. But if we begin to just simply break it down to a very fundamental level of covered and uncovered, it begins to work very well with our teaching progression that we mentioned in the 2 previous tapes about how to build blocking schemes and then how to teach fundamentals related to those schemes. And so we simply, while we do communicate in a more complex way, the very first thing that we do is talk about whether our linemen are covered or uncovered. It allows us to maximize practice reps. It allows us to package blocking principles and concepts. It allows us to create interchangeable parts amongst the offensive line. If a right guard understands the definition of covered and what it means to be covered, and he can say, "Coach, when I'm covered, it's because there's a defensive lineman over the top of me with his hand in the grass, or there's a linebacker that's over the top of me who's broken the heels of the defensive lineman," and then I move that guy from an uncovered position of right guard against an odd defense, for example, to a covered position of right tackle because of an injury or of any other particular issue, then that right guard understands the blocking principles and the concepts related to being covered and uncovered. Creates an easy in-the-trenches communication between coaches and players. As coaches, we have a guy in the box on game day. We have headsets on the sideline. And we're processing information as fast as we can process it and getting good information to the players when they come to the sideline. But the reality is, when players don't know as much as we do about defensive structure, they'll come to the sideline and we'll begin to communicate, and I'll say, were you covered or uncovered? Let's start there. And when a player says, "Well, Coach, the last time we ran inside zone, I was covered," then I can instantly go to, well, what do you do when you're covered? So we build rule systems based on the concept of coverage.